Welcome, welcome. I see lots of people standing at the back there. There are so many good seats in the front here. Come on through. You can bring all the food. We're just on a little bit of a time pressure because we are also live streaming, so there's lots more people waiting for what we've got to say tonight. Lots of comfy seats in the front here. I can see some of you standing. Alrighty, welcome to stage 0. This is where it all begins. We are so excited that you are here with us tonight. And first and foremost, a huge thank you to Nedbank for putting this together and for hosting us tonight. They are so incredible at what they do. So thank you. If you have any questions at all during the night, just write them down, and at the end, we will answer all of them. So please don't forget them. We really want to make sure you walk out of here knowing absolutely everything you need to know so that your 2026 Nedbank Gravel Burn is the best yet. All right, so tonight you're going to hear lots to make sure that you're ready. But before we kick off, I'd like to welcome Remo Moyo from Nedbank to say hello.
Thank you, Natalie. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Remo Moyo from our CIB business, looking after client coverage. It is wonderful for me today to have you with us at our head offices in Nedbank. And for those of you online, we also welcome indeed. What you see in the back here is Nedbank head office at 135 Rivonia Road in Sandton. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge our chairman, Chair Daniel. Thank you very much for joining us. Not only joining us, but for the support that you've given us with your board for us to get to supporting initiatives such as the Nedbank Gravel Burn. I'd also like to welcome the Gravel Burn team, Kevin Vermark, Craig Boyer, Dave George, Richard McMerton, Natalie Deacon. Thank you for your partnership and for the vision and the passion that you have invested in building something truly special which aligns to Nedbank. I would also like to acknowledge my Nedbank colleagues, executives that have joined us this evening, and riders that will be riding with some of yourselves, our clients, and just general riders. We are ever so appreciative of yourselves taking the time to be with us. Most importantly, I'd like to welcome the riders. You are brave people. 750 kilometers. As a banker, I shouldn't be lying. I've already been challenged. I'll work at it, but not to ride this race, but I'll try something or get started at the least. When I hear 750 kilometers, I just say to myself, those sound like Nedbank clients or gravel band riders. For many of you tonight, marks the point where Nedbank Gravel Burn starts to feel very real. The commitment has been made. I know the training is being done, and the logistics are coming together. In about 2 months' time, you will be lining up at Graaff-Reinet preparing to take on the 750 kilometers across some of the most remarkable landscapes in South Africa. And that will be happening at the prime time for that geography. I must admit, when I heard 750, I just couldn't help but be proud of yourselves. And I'm seeing some faces that we saw last year, and seeing you here smiling and radiant, it goes to show your commitment, which I salute. But this is also exactly why an event such as this attracts people like yourselves. It brings out the challenge in people, the perseverance that you all have, and I think something that we as Nedbank align to. At Nedbank, we are deliberate about where we invest our time, our resources, and our brand. We are not looking for visibility. We are looking for meaningful partnerships that create value. Partnerships that have the potential to have a positive contribution beyond the event itself. The Nedbank Gravel Band does just that. It allows us to support a world-class event that showcases South Africa at its prime, at its very best. This year's route from Graaff-Reinet to Shamwari will expose riders to extraordinary scenery, diverse communities, and unique experiences, and simply cannot be replicated anywhere in the world. For our international riders, this will become a defining South African experience for yourselves, and hope to be seeing you over and over going forward. It's also important to us as Nedbank, because the Nedbank Gravel Band is not just promoting a race. It is helping to position South Africa as a destination for adventure, tourism, sporting excellence as well. This partnership aligns with our commitment to sustainability. One of the things we value most about this race is that respect for the environment is built into the event. The landscapes riders will experience are among the event's greatest assets. Protecting these landscapes and ensuring responsible stewardship to the communities and the environments along the route is something we believe matters a great deal. Perhaps most importantly, we see Nedbank Gravel Band as a platform for creating broader social impact. As a bank that uses its financial expertise for good, we have a responsibility to contribute positively to society and to help create communities for future generations to come. That is why partnerships such as Sports Trust remain important to us. It is why we are exploring ways to deepen our impact in communities along the route. It's always good to be invited back, right? We are focused on ensuring that success of Nedbank Gravel Band is measured not only by the riders who cross the finish line, but by the positive outcomes it creates to those communities. One of the things we're particularly excited about is the opportunity this partnership gives us to help shape the future of the sport. I'm incredibly pleased to see intentional improvements being made to broaden participation in cycling, particularly by women. Through our collaboration with the Trail Angels, we are excited to be helping women prepare for the journey through mentorship, support networks, and shared learning. Additionally, there will be dedicated women's facilities at the event, and there is a dedicated women's start group. And most importantly, there will be equal prize money for both women and men. The highest women's prize purse in gravel band racing in history. These may seem like individual initiatives, ladies and gentlemen, but collectively they send a powerful message. A message that women belong in every part of this sport. A message that participation and representation matters. A message that opportunity matters. That is something we are celebrating. It is about contributing to the long-term growth of cycling. It is about making sure the sport is accessible to more people, creating space for new voices, and ensuring the future generations of riders see themselves represented at every level of participation. When we look at the future of this partnership, that is exactly the kind of impact we would like to see more of. Not only a bigger event, but a more inclusive one. Before I close, I would simply like to thank all of you for being part of this journey. To the riders, thank you for choosing to take this challenge. To the Nedbank Gravel Burn team, thank you for continuing to raise the bar and build an event that already built strong recognition, both locally and internationally. On behalf of Nedbank, we wish you a safe, successful, and memorable Nedbank Gravel Burn. We look forward to following your journey and celebrating your achievements in the months ahead. I thank you all, and good luck.
Thank you, Rima. Is this working? Yeah, no, it's going. Good. My name is Kevin Vermaak. I'm the founder of the Gravel Burn. And, when about 2 years ago, I had the idea to start a new off-road stage race in South Africa. I really considered it as a privilege because for 20 years, we'd created the Cape Epic, which is largely recognized as the world's biggest mountain bike stage race. And luckily, gravel came along. Now we had the chance to do that again, to create a new bike stage race, off-road bike stage race that could bring riders from around the world to South Africa and to experience a new part of the country and to bring more foreigners into experiencing South Africa. And for us, creating something new and innovating, because gravel is quite a new sport relative to mountain biking and road cycling, obviously, we consider it a real privilege. And it's what we love doing. And I'm working with colleagues that I've spent decades building the Cape Epic with. And obviously, to do this, you need riders to enter the race. And if it's not for you in the audience tonight that are entering the race, we couldn't be doing what we're doing. So I want to thank you for coming tonight and for most importantly entering into the race, because tonight it's about giving you information, what the information you need to actually do the race. It's not a marketing splurge anymore. It's like, this is it. You're in the race. It's like 8 weeks to go, and we're going to try and answer all your questions. And we've got riders from, in fact, already all over the world. Natalie mentioned to me we've got on our live stream from Las Vegas, London, and Zurich, amongst others, already signed up to our live stream. So welcome to you as well. We can do what we love doing because we've got riders that enter the race, but equally important is to have partners and particularly a title sponsor that share our vision to create something special. And so Rima, thank you very much. And to have support from the chairman to be at this evening tonight, thank you very much, Daniel, for joining this evening too. It's been great to see how it's grown since we first spoke about it like 2 years ago. We've got a wonderful group of sponsors. The rest I mentioned are shown on the board, but we've also got representatives from the sponsors that are actually riding the race too. I know Steph from WeWork is riding the race. I know that Vessel from Nova Chocolates is here riding the race. I know that Dave from Amex is riding the race. We're going to hear from him later. And I think, and obviously lots of riders from Nedbank that are riding the race too. Anyway, thanks for the support, and we look forward to working with these partners going forward. I've also got another special rider. That everyone in the race is special. Everyone here tonight is special, but I'd like to call out the legend himself, Nick, who's won numerous comrades and is back again to ride his second gravel burn. And Ryan Gibbons, who won the Cape Town Cycle Tour this year. We've actually got all three winners, the last three winners of the Cape Town Cycle Tour, all taking on their very first gravel race this year at the Gravel Burn. But Ryan Gibbons, there you are. Thanks for coming tonight. Okay, so let's see. How many of you were at the race last year or rode the race last year? Okay, quite a few. So I'm assuming that the rest of the hands, the rest of the folk here are doing their first Nedbank Gravel Burn. So things have changed since last year, so you're going to find the information tonight. Also very interesting, even if you rode the race last year. I'm curious, what did you find, why have you come back? What is the, what is special about the Nedbank Gravel Burn for you? It's like childbirth.
And there you are having a number 2, number 3, and number 4.
Well, good for you to know that that the Nedbank Gravel Burn is like childbirth, that you come back for more, because we're introducing a loyalty program later this year. And it's going to be a race to see who does the first rider to do 3 Nedbank Gravel Burns. I'm curious, Vessel, why are you doing it again?
On that subject, I think it's like making a child. So
That good, hey?
I think it was good fun. I think the wine and the food and the experience was just brilliant, and the organization, and it was good fun. So I owe John a few climbs on the hill, so I have to sort him out this year. And no, it was just good fun. It's good riding.
I loved hearing that it's the camaraderie and meeting people and spending time together, because that's quintessentially what we're trying to create with the Nedbank Gravel Burn. You know, I want to be very clear about this. Like, it's very important that the expectations are correct when you arrive at the start line at the Nedbank Gravel Burn. That, you know, when we came up with the idea and when we started working on the route for the Gravel Burn, can we have some water down? Yeah, please. Okay. 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 Carbo loading. Good. Okay. I need to be very clear in the expectations for the race, that we did not look for 700 kilometers or 750 kilometers of the smoothest, most champagne gravel in South Africa. We're looking for adventure. Okay, the experience of the Nedbank Gravel Burn is 7 days of adventure, taking you to parts of the country that very few people have been to, and we allow you to experience the desert and the Karoo in a way that I think that only can be done. It can only be done on a bike in the Nedbank Gravel Burn. The experience is immersive. It's about sitting around the campfire and having a beer after the race. It's about waking up 20 minutes earlier so you can take your chair and sit around the campfire and have a coffee and a rusk and relax before you start the day. And, you know, for me tonight, we've got experts to tell you about your nutrition. We've got experts to tell you about how to prepare your bike. We've got information about the route. But for me as the founder, having done a few of the trial rides, I want to give you my tips for how to enjoy the Nedbank Gravel Burn. And that's the first one, is to take time to enjoy it, to meet the folk. We've got folk from all over the world, including in this room, that are very, very interesting. If you can imagine setting up a dinner party and choosing like interesting people to make up conversation for a 2-hour dinner party, you've now got 7 days with some very interesting people from all over the world. We've got founders and owners of some of the biggest bike brands in the world that are riding the race. We've got yellow jersey wearers and winners of the Tour de France racing. We've got the youngest ever winner of the Cape Epic. We've got the South African that's won more Cape Epics than any other South African. We've got a world marathon major winner from Boston, Tokyo, Chicago, and Cape Town participating. We've got no less than 4 bowhead athletes. So these are riders that are paralyzed from the waist down at least, and are riding hand bikes. Last year we had Bryce, one rider that completed on a bowhead. Now we've got inspired no less than 4 more riders to ride the Nedbank Gravel Burn this year. It's a heck of an achievement. And Chip, one of them is the World Marathon Major winner that won the Cape Town Marathon, that is coming to ride the Burn. We've got the greatest mountain biker of all time. We've got gravel legends, winners of the Tracker Unbound Leadville, that are coming to race. We've got the owner of the most successful mountain bike team in the history of the sport. We've got the holder of the world blind land speed record, racing on the tandem. Can you imagine riding the gravel burn on a tandem, blind? He holds numerous other records for blind individuals, but he'll be racing and hopefully being the first blind rider to complete the Nedbank gravel burn. We've got numerous stakeholders and significant, influential folk from the bike industry. Pinarello is bringing 25 dealers from around the planet to once again take on the Nedbank River Burn. We've got influencers from Thailand, China, Japan, Europe, North America, all from the bike industry coming to race. I think in total with these influencers, it's about 2.5 million followers, just for from the influencers that are at the race. We've got South Africa's own Active Hober, the probably most well-regarded cycling podcast, participating. And we've also got Wade Wallace, the owner of Escape Collective, one of the most respected international cycling podcasts, also coming out to ride the race. And no less than the last 3 winners of the Cape Town Cycle Tour, and all the interesting people in this room. So for me, I feel it's a privilege to have so many interesting people from around the world coming to ride the race. Okay, so let's go into the tips. So I've given you the first one, it's to take time to enjoy the race. Second tip are some packing tips. The first one is to make sure you get a big, soft duffel bag, a bit like this one. And last year we had folk that arrived with hard shell suitcases, which are just not going to work in your tent. The cool thing with a soft bag, it compresses in small space and it doesn't have wheels, you don't create dust with backpacks. So I can see shaking, nodding heads there. Makes a lot of sense to bring your luggage, especially our international riders on the live stream. It's not a good idea to bring a hard shell suitcase. Of course you can, but it's a lot better for the tents. The next one is you're moving every second day. Make sure you organize your bag with packing cells. Something like this. Who uses packing cells? Great idea. Vital. Then definitely use a microfiber towel because you don't want to fill up your bag with too much stuff. So this microfiber towel doesn't take much space at all. There you go. Then an inflatable pillow. My inflatable pillow is only this big. Of course, I don't bother putting it into its bag after I use it, but it is really folds up and it's super comfortable. So once again, it doesn't take much space in your bag. Okay, the next tip is on the bike. Obviously, there's a full packing list on our website, right? But these are just some of the ones that I would recommend. The next one is a electric pump. Super useful. You can pump your pillow with it as well. But what I found very important riding on the gravel is to know what my tire pressure is. And there were times when we were hitting super technical stuff, I dropped the pressure, and then the last 30 Ks on tar, got out the electric pump, pumped up my tires. In Cape Town, we do a ride every week, and literally halfway through the ride, I change pressure. I also have remote tire pressure sensors. I've got like a set of zip wheels that have got the tire pressure integrated, so I can actually read at all times my tire pressure on my head unit. Super useful, but you don't have to have the electronic one. You could have you could just obviously measure it if you've got a pocket one. Also, you can buy aftermarket, so SKS and SRAM do aftermarket tire pressure sensors. Sounds like a bit of a gimmick, but super useful for the gravel. It's just to always know what your tire pressure is. And needless to say, the head torch. Don't faff with having a torch in your mouth, trying to see what you're doing at night. Head torch. Okay, I think those are my packing tips. Obviously, like I said, there's a long list on detail on our website, but from the founder, my tips I've learned. Wide tires, next tip. Don't faff with 38 mils. Last year, we had some international riders. I don't think any South Africans arrived with 38 mils, but some folk, can you believe it, had 38 mil tires. As I said, we didn't go out to seek champagne gravel. This is burn, you need a burn setup, right? This is African gravel. And last year we said 45 up. Nowadays, all the new bikes are coming out, taking maybe 50 more clearance. I've ridden test rides on a Diverge and the new Crux. I know we're going to hear from Specialized in a minute, but just as an example, even the new Crux racing setup, I think the clearance potential is like 55 mil tires. So, and I believe that when you go from like 50 to 65 mil, which is about a 2.4 inch mountain bike tire, you're doubling your volume, okay? So I encourage you to go for as wide as you can possibly go on your bike, because over 7 days, people I think last year underestimated the fatigue of riding on no suspension, hard and like maybe narrow tires, okay? And with this race, comfort equals performance over 7 days. And comfort comes from having big tires. Next thing, this is not mountain biking single track. The Karoo can get very windy. Last year, I mean, there were lots of videos that came out about some of the windy days we had. The Karoo is harsh, can get very cold, can get very windy, can get very hot. So do not get caught out on your own. Make every effort. You see, there's a solo rider in the picture. Do not do it, okay? Unless you Matt Beers going for the win, okay? Like, always stay in bunches and protect yourself and conserve energy as much as you can. Then hygiene. The reality is that over 7 days, taxing yourself in the heat, everyone's immune system goes down, and it's very easy, let's say, to fall victim to any lurgies that are going around. So it's something to be conscious of all the time. We're going to make a very big effort. We're putting up water basins everywhere. So first thing is to wash your hands with water. Sure, if you need to use sanitizer, everyone's got hand sanitizer with them. But use water to wash your hands wherever possible. We won't allow you into the food, like the lunch bomas, unless you've washed your hands. We've also divided the lunch boma up this year into a lycra, we're calling it the lycra lounge. So if you want to come straight from the bike on the finish line, you've got to wash your hands, and then you can go into lycra lounge. And on the other side, we've got the hipster lounge, where you have to have showered, and you've got to be out of lycra, and then you can eat in the hipster lounge. Because, for example, we know how important that hygiene is. I recommend do fist pumps. It's all very well tonight, give each other hugs. We haven't seen each other for ages. But on event, I encourage you rather fist pump over a handshake. And also wash your bottles at every opportunity. And I know it's super social and everyone wants to high five the locals as we go past, as we ride past some of the locals. But I'm thinking that 5 minutes later, you're probably not going to be able to wash your hands. You're going to be wanting to eat. So it's just something to consider. Maybe don't high five a local so that you, or anyone. But basically, when you're on the bike, think about your own hygiene is the most important. Okay, another tip is to take out the bike service package. There was no one last year who took it that regretted taking the service. Right? It's money well spent. You can hand your bike in on the finish line. You don't have to worry about it. It's ready for you the next day. If there is a day of like really bad weather and you need to hand your bike in, unfortunately, if you didn't buy the package and you're doing a walk-in on the tech service, well, your bike's going to be at the bottom of the queue. They will do it. We've got enough capacity. Last year, Specialized shot the lights out, and they've serviced all the bikes. This year, we've spread the load. Pinarello's bringing a team to service all the Pinarello riders from around the world. We've got Specialized again. We've got Techno Ride, and we've also got Uku's doing a service as well. So you don't have to sign up for one. There's a variety of tech partners you can choose from. But if you take the package, then obviously you're guaranteed. If you don't, if you're a walk-in, you're going to be potentially at the bottom of the queue, and they might have to work right through the night to get your bike. They will get it ready, but you'll be at the end of the queue. Make sure you use the Hyper Ice recovery. We've got Hyper Ice here tonight as well. You'll see it's also, obviously the fact that you get your legs massaged, you don't have to book it beforehand. Like on the day, you can go there, put your name on the list, and you get a slot in the Hyper Ice recovery boots. But it's a great place to detox, to do a tech detox. You can just sit there, chill, chat to people once again that you met on the bike, and just make sure you take time for it. And then also, I mentioned that we're sponsored by Amex. We're going to hear from Dave in a minute, but it's a fantastic product. And my advice here is just try and use the product before the event. You'll hear from Dave and say that it's totally fine if you use it for the first time, your gut's safe, but rather be prepared and get a few samples before you get to the event, because there's loads of Amex at every single aid station, our PUT styles, what we call our aid stations. Okay, so those are my tips. Now I want to talk about some of the truths, and then finally we're going to go into some admin. But on the truths of the burn, the first one was about how we chose the route, okay, and that it's not champagne gravel, right? You need to come there expecting African gravel. It's not. A gravel bike is the best tool for the job, absolutely. And there are, as you can see in the pictures, there's some beautiful sections of fast champagne gravel, but there are also sections which are, the only way to describe them is African gravel. And the gravel burn experience is as much off the bike as it is on the bike. And so that's the product we're creating, is this adventure. And when you get to the end of the 7 days and you get your medal for finishing the Nedbank gravel burn, it's because you've had the whole immersive experience. And I've spoken to a few folk tonight that really get it, that can't wait to be camping and to be enjoying the nights and seeing the stars of the Karoo. When I said take up the experience, another example is, make sure you get to Graaff-Reinet. It's a jewel of the Karoo. It's such a beautiful town. And if you get there with a few hours extra, you could maybe take the chance to go to the Paleontology Museum, for example, which is a Johan Rupert funded fossil museum. It's the largest collection of fossils in the Southern Hemisphere, and all from that area. And you'll hear from Bruce Campbell, the curator of that museum. It's special. Take time. Enjoy the experience of the Karoo. And then the last truth that I want to share is that there are no spectators at the race. Okay, and that's by design, because the folk, and then the picture you'll see on the screen at the moment is Tom Pidcock finishing on the hilltop finish at Swaziland Pass last year. And I think it's probably the only picture you're going to see of Tom Pidcock winning a stage with no spectators. As it turns out, there obviously were spectators there, but the reality is that the folk at the race are the ones riding it. Okay, and the beautiful thing is that people can let their hair down, and you're surrounded by everyone else going through the same experience as you. And I've got this distinct memory of Tom Pidcock chatting to Alistair Brownlee, just in their bib shorts after the race, and like feeling totally relaxed. And that's only happens when you're surrounded by kindred spirits that are doing the race, and you don't have non-riders coming in there and that haven't had the same experience as you on the bike. And so it's a very special community experience that just the riders that are doing the event and the folk that are working and involved in the event that are there. So really enjoy that, let's say, this kindred spirit experience for riders in the race. Okay, so then moving on to some admin. The first one is the Karoo posts. The Karoo posts are the emails that go out from our race office every 2 weeks. I hope you're all getting them, and if you're not getting a Karoo post, you need to email us tomorrow or check your spam filter, because these are coming out bi-weekly at the moment, and it's crucial information before the event. Secondly, our optional extras. There are all sorts of things that you may want to add to your experience, or just admin. For example, if you want to drive to the start in Graaff-Reinet, one of the optional extras is that we have a transfer company that will put your car onto a car transporter. It's not, you don't have drivers, your car gets put onto a car transporter, and we'll transport your car to Shamwari, and it'll be waiting for you at the finish. It's one of the options. There's pre-event accommodation, there's post-event accommodation, there's massage packages, there are numerous other, there's transfers if you want to fly into Port Elizabeth and then take our bus transfer to the start at Robert Sobukwe, Grafenet. You can do that. You can also, at the end, there's a transfer you can buy from the finish back to the airport at different times. All of those are available as optional extras, and they're closing, I believe, in the first week of September. So make sure you book those optional extras if you need them. Okay, then Rima mentioned our partnership with Trail Angels. So Trail Angels is the largest women's cycling club in South Africa, based in Cape Town. And they have got their own set of partners. They're having a dedicated women's-only LAPA. And they've got like Dermalogica and a couple of other sponsors that are looking after their area to make it just a bit more special and provide services that are uniquely required by women. And so if you want to be a part, if you're a woman and you want to be a part of that LAPA, then please contact Trail Angels. The address is on our website, or once again, you can email the race office and we'll connect you with Trail Angels. They're doing they're training camps. They've created a whole community amongst women that are riding the gravel burn. So if you want to be a part of that, make sure you're into the Trail Angel community group. Okay, then for South Africans, you will have seen obviously foot and mouth is rampant in South Africa at the moment. And for the internationals that are following, it's a disease that spreads amongst cattle. And the way to stop it is that you don't have vehicles and people transferring from across borders. Okay, so just what I'm telling everyone here is that for the event, we've got mitigation measures in place so that when you do cross borders and go into different farms, we're typically stopping the race at that crucial border crossing. So when we go into that farm, and then you'll have dipped, you'll be sprayed, and then you'll go into the burn camp. So, but largely, there shouldn't be any impact. The stages are all roughly the same. There's very little change. All I'm just saying is that we're on top of it. It is a factor that we're considering, and we are taking the precautionary measures. Then also the entries for the race. I mean, obviously everyone here has entered the race, but if you've got friends that are considering on the fence and might want to enter, entries will close on the 31st of August. And then finally on the admin side, those of you might, I think from Nedbank perspective, and there might be a few other sponsors that are coming to the training camp, if you've got any questions, ask us. If you would like to join the training camp, we have a few spaces still available from the 11th to the 13th of September in Magaliesburg from here. So if you want to find out more information, once again, speak to Natalie immediately after this. Okay, so I've got two last things to talk about. The night burn. Who participated in the night burn last year? Okay, so need to tell you about it. The night burn was definitely, for me, the highlight of the race last year. It's something that was very inspirational, and having bonfires at night. Riders basically qualified to be in the night burn. We had 30 riders, amateur riders, that basically qualified, and they were chased by the Red Bull Fox. Last year it was Tom Pidcock. This year it's going to be another significant Red Bull athlete that's riding the race. And the night burn itself will take place on the Friday night, the first night that we're in Shamwari. As I mentioned, riders will qualify. They'll hear about, they'll know whether they qualified or not during the course of the week. And it's a 600-meter loop. Red Bull DJs, laser shows, smoke machines, all happening in the desert. Over all the riders, it's the last night. They got a chance to relax. And the riders head off, get half a lap advantage, and then the Fox follows them and goes round and round until the Fox has overtaken all the riders. Fun event, it's voluntary, it's not part of the GC. We also had a Legends race before that where a lot of the pro riders took part. Once again, that'll take place. And the way you qualify for it is that you put your name in the hat. So at registration in Grafenet, you tick a box, say, I want to potentially qualify. And then on stage 4, which is the shorter 61-kilometer stage from Marino on the Wednesday, we have a 1 kilometer, it's called the Red Bull KM section. And the way it works is that, let's say you are lying in 400th position in the GC, okay? And on that day, you get into the Red Bull KM and you go gangbusters. You go as fast as you can, and you end up potentially coming 20, or let's say 10th position. Your time for the 1 kilometer is the 10th fastest time. That gives you a 390 goal difference, or a 390 difference between your GC position and your ranking for the kilometer. So with 390, it's a very good chance you're going to qualify, because let's face it, if you've got Ryan Gibbons, for example, maybe lying in position 10th, maybe, I'm sure you're going to be better than that, but let's just, for example, you're in position 10th, you go gangbusters for the Red Bull KM, and maybe you win the Red Bull KM and get the fastest time. So you got a first position in the KM, but 10th GC. So you've only got a goal difference of 9. So probably that's not going to get you to qualify, because you're only going to have 9 points, and someone coming in 400th position is going to have a goal difference of 390. So they're most likely to get in. If you ask kindly, we can maybe put in some celebrities into the night burn. But that's how the qualification works. Okay? And so the 30 best on the GC difference will get into the night burn. It's a lot of fun. You get a special limited edition ASOS night burn jersey, and just you get a photograph with the athlete, the Red Bull athlete, and he signs a jersey. So anyway, so fun evening, and it's a privilege to take part. Finally, I mentioned earlier, we are introducing a loyalty club. So the folk that put up their hand and said that they're coming back for the second time, you will be the folk that have a chance to be the first members of our loyalty club. So there's a precedent. We did it, the Amubezi Club at the Cape Epic, something similar to that, but we think this is a step up on that. And we're also going to have like a gold status within the loyalty club, because within the age groupers, it might be more a challenge in pro elites, but within the age groupers, it could be possible, I mean, obviously it is possible with Pro Elite too, but it could be possible that you could win it 3 times. You could win your age group 3 times. And if you do, you're going to become a goldsmith in our forge, the loyalty club. And something we're going to announce just before the race this year, but it's something to look forward to. Those who are going for the second race, you're on track to become the very first members of our loyalty club. So that's all for me. If you've got any questions about those topics, save them for the end, because I'll take questions from everyone online as well as in the room. But now I'm going to hand over to Scott from Specialized, from Complete Cyclist, and is going to talk to you about bike setup. Over to you, Scott.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks very much, Kevin, for the introduction and the opportunity to speak this evening. It should be Craig Boys up here from Specialized. I'm standing in on his behalf. And my job this evening is just to talk to you about bike setup, bike preparation. We've got just over 2 months to go before the race. And there's a lot that can be done in the next 2 months. Our team was part of the Specialized team that was at Gravelburn, and we just want to take you through a couple of the things that we saw to avoid anyone making the same mistakes from last year. So, which bike? So if you have a look at the two bikes that are on stage, we've got the all-out aero bike, which is Specialized latest Crux 5. It's got the aero wheels, aero frame, very lightweight, quite stiff, proper race machine. This is what you'll see the likes of Matt Beers, Keegan Swenson on. And then we have our Diverge, which is our other gravel bike. It's a far more compliant machine. The geometry is a lot more relaxed and overall far more comfortable. So if you're at the sharp end of the field, you may want to be riding something like the Crux. But if you're mid-pack, this is the answer at the end of the day. And sorry that we're talking just about Specialized. There's a lot of good brands out there, but I think most of you will probably have bikes by now. But if you are looking, you need to think about comfort over speed at the end of the day. So comfort, compliance, reliability are the key drivers. If we have a look at the bikes, we'll get into the tires. But things that we found last year from gravel burn, we had quite a few broken handlebars. And the handlebars were because they were ultra lightweight handlebars and they weren't up to the African terrain. What we also found with the riders, a lot of them, is that they started off on very narrow bars, particularly the riders from overseas. And at the end of the day, if you're bombing down a gravel road at 60, 70 k's an hour with very narrow bars, you have very little control. You're also riding in packs as well, and control becomes a real big issue, particularly when you're riding in dusty conditions and you can't see much in front of you. So advice to yourselves, don't go too narrow on the bars. Go a little bit wider. Go to your local bike shops and get a proper fit done. Because obviously comfort is the big driver here. They will be able to have a look at your bar setup in relation to the overall bike setup and your key touch points, the saddle, the pedals, and your various reaches and angles. Bear in mind the challenge with gravel burn is that you are, by let's say mountain biking standards, totally underbiked. There is very little suspension. Most of the suspension is in the tires, which we'll talk about in a minute. And the fatigue accumulates over 7 days. So again, it's shake, rattle, and roll for 7 days. In a mountain bike stage environment, you've obviously got the suspension that's soaking up a lot of the terrain, and the bumpiness obviously adds to the fatigue levels. So the way the bike feels on day 1 and the way the bike feels on day 6 is going to be totally different. Your hands are sore, your back is sore, your knees are sore. So bike setup is incredibly important. So make sure you're going to have a fit. Make sure your handlebars are the correct width. And then another touch point is on the saddles. A lot of riders are using carbon rail saddles, again from a weight perspective. With the African terrain, we suggest that you ride a saddle with alloy rails, preferably a 3D printed saddle. There are a lot of 3D printed saddles on the market. They fit better to the body, and they are a little bit more compliant and a little bit more comfortable than your regular saddle. But the important point is the carbon fiber is very rough, is very brittle, should I say, and the terrain is very rough. So the chance of breaking the rails is quite high. We can talk about the tire choice selection next. So a lot of things that we saw, Kevin alluded to the fact that tire widths were a problem, particularly with the overseas riders. It is African gravel. It is very rough. There isn't champagne gravel. Most of the modern bikes now are coming out with very wide tire clearances, so 55, and if it's on the mountain bike, up to 2.2, 2.3. So the bigger the tire, the bigger the air volume, and obviously the suspension actually is in the tire. So also with the tires, you obviously get more control the wider the tire is, and rather go for a tire that's a little bit tougher than an ultra lightweight tire. Again, from the African terrain, it's pretty rough. You're also riding in packs a lot of the time, so you're going to be hitting stones, rocks in the path. You don't necessarily see it. So the wider the tire, the better. Also, you can run the wider the tire, slightly lower pressures. But what we did find last year is because guys were feeling the pain, and ladies, the tire pressure started getting lower and lower. And the lower the tire pressure, obviously, the higher the risk of breaking a rim. And there were a lot of rim breakages last year because people were running too low tire pressures, too narrow tires, and then they weren't running tire inserts. It must for gravel burners to run tire inserts on your tires. It just protects your rims and doubles the safety aspect of it. So the tire pressures are up on the screen. Have a look at that for your rider weight. Please don't underdo it. It's far better to finish the race a little bit more fatigued than standing on the side of the road waiting for a pickup. Okay, gearing. So with a SRAM bike here, we'll just talk about that. There's a 13-speed setup, and it's their Explorer range. It's a 4610 on the back, and you can decide on the gearing what you want to do. 40 to 42 is probably the ideal setup for most riders. If you're at the front end of the pack, 44, 46 is probably the front gearing that you would use. Please make sure that you run a chain guard if you're running the one bar. The terrain is quite rough, obviously, as we've spoken about, and the chance of the chain falling off is also quite high. We then get to the mullet setup, and the mullet setup is obviously mountain bike setup on the back. So you would run a 1052 with the transmission derailleur, and you can obviously afford to then go bigger on the chain rings, 42 to 44 on the front. So that's the chain ring sizes. Sorry, spares. Okay, a lot of the bikes come with options to put saddlebags on. This particular bike has internal storage. If you are running a bike that has non-mainstream components, so let's say not Shimano or not SRAM, please make sure you pack spares. So things like brakes. If you are running non-mainstream brakes, please make sure you bring extra brake pads to give to your service crew. Otherwise, you could run short. If you are not running direct mount derailleurs and you're still using a hanger, and again, your bike is not mainstream, even if it is, please bring at least 2 hangers, one in the bag and one spare just in case you have an accident. The other spares are pretty standard. Kevin showed the pump. You need tubes, you need gaiters. There is a good chance that you rip a tire. So please make sure you are adequately prepared with the spares in your bags. And as I say, don't worry too much about the weight. You're really going for reliability and the comfort. You've got to get to the end of each day. Just one last thing on the wheels. Just a reminder that we had it last year. It was a very, very windy day, and a lot of the bikes are coming out with deep section wheels. Obviously, that is a problem from a wind point of view in crosswinds. So depending on your skill level, probably the shallow profiles are a better option at the end of the day. Bike service FAQs. Is it worth having a package? Yes. The number one reason for that is the fatigue factor. How you feel on day 1 and how you feel on day 7 are totally different. And the one thing you cannot control is the weather. And last year, it rained on day 1, and I think there were in the order of 300 service packages and over 500 riders. Let me tell you that there were all 500 riders at the mechanic tents. So you can imagine the pressure that it put on the specialized team. Some of the guys didn't sleep for 4 days running. So is it worth it? Yes. If you look at all the Pro Tour riders, Ryan Gibbons here, you can tell you they don't work on their own bikes. They focus on riding and they focus on recovering. And each day after the ride, that needs to be your number one priority. And the last thing you want to worry about is my bike prepped and ready to go? Now I've got to get up, I'm not feeling great, my legs are sore, etc. Now I must go and prep my bike. So it looks expensive, but I promise you it's the best thing that you can do from to ensure that you've got peace of mind and that you can just worry about the riding and recovering and nothing else. Again, as Kevin said, it's not just Specialized there this year. There's a lot of service providers with different package options, so please have a look at that. It really makes all the difference. Just a couple of stats from last year. I think the bike washes was the biggest one. Please bear in mind that for our international riders, you're out in Africa, it's hot, it's dusty, it's dry. Bikes need to be washed and prepped every single day. But yeah, there was a lot of bike washing going on last year, as you can see. Okay, and that's really it from me. Some happy faces from the Specialized team last year. I think that was before the onslaught. Afterwards, I think there were a lot more tired faces than that. Anyway, I'm here at the end, so if there's any questions and answers, feel free to come and have a chat. Thanks very much. David George, if you'd like to come up and talk about the nutrition side. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. When Kevin presented the concept of Nedbank gravel burn, we were super excited and convinced that we wanted to be a part of it right from the beginning. And last year was an amazing event, and we really enjoyed it. Just to give some background, Amex is born in the Netherlands. The brand founder is Gino Verhoeven, son of Arthur Verhoeven, who was a very famous Belgian cyclist. It has a very distinct South African flavor because it's also owned by Ivan, or majority shareholding by Ivan Glasenberg, who also owns Pinarello and Q36.5. They're that excited about this event that they're actually bringing 50 riders for the next 3 years. And so they're well invested in the future of this event. The product was developed in conjunction with the Visma professional cycling team, so super detail orientated. They've thought about everything and left nothing out. It's also currently used by 4 or 5 Pro Tour teams and some that actually purchase the product and aren't sponsored. It's really important to know that if you haven't used the product, it's fine. You can use it in abundance and you're not going to get sick. This sort of variable element of nutrition is a thing of the past. It doesn't need to be figured out. You can just use it in abundance. And so that's really important. We do encourage you to purchase and use the product in the build-up to the event because training fuel is wildly beneficial and underrated. And it'll just build your confidence into the event. It's super simple to understand, so it's 1 bottle and 2 pieces every hour. That's it. There's nothing else you need to figure out. It'll be available at all of the putt styles, so there'll be no feed that doesn't have Amex available at it. And then there's, again, it's really a compelling range of products. So it's not just gels. You can use the bars, the gels, and the chews. All of them have a very similar, have the same caloric value and almost identical in input. All of the putt styles, we've calculated 90 grams per rider per hour from the first feed, the first putt style, until the finish. And so that's what you can expect. You do need to prepare yourself to get from kilometer 0 to the first feed. And so that's on you, but then from there on out, in abundance, you're taken care of. The putt styles were very clearly marked last year, so there's no confusion as to when they were coming or that you're going to miss one. They're very well marked, and the I don't know if you can see there, but there's one gentleman called Pete, Barefoot Pete, who's very kindly just gives his time away and comes to these events and helps people out of the fees. He's an amazing human. Drink mix in abundance, again, 2 flavors, as much as you want, at every feed. Really important, last year we mixed every recovery shake by hand, It was amazing because we got to know everyone personally. Well, I didn't, my team did. But it was really a nice interaction, and we can do the same this year. It's super important that you go for that recovery, because then your recovery starts immediately. And so while you're walking to your tent or taking to your bike to get checked in, you're immediately recovering and assimilating carbs. There'll be 3 pad styles on all the long stages, 2 on every other, even on the short stage. And so 2 every day, 3 on the long ones. And so you're not going to be short. There'll be 2 bottles in every pre-race package. It's very important because last year we lost a bunch of bottles. We'll bring some more this year. Like if you can tie them down with a hair tie or come with a bottle cage that actually holds the bottles properly, it's really important because you don't want to start down a rutted gravel road and be 1 bottle down. It's not a great idea. We will have some extra, but not enough for everyone to lose all of the bottles every day. There is normal food available at all the feeds. Again, we like to stick to the nutrition program because the carb, glucose, fructose ratios are well designed and well respected. But if you'll come to the point where you just want something salty, and that's okay, and they'll be in abundance. Start training your gut now. Again, wildly beneficial for training and your day-to-day recovery and building yourself towards the event. And then just build your confidence so that you don't get to the event thinking, like, what am I going to do? So use the same products in training that you would potentially at the event. And that looks like your hardest day in your training week or your longest day in your training week. You should go at the same grams per hour with the same products as you would when we get to the event. Recovery starts immediately. Again, come to the recovery. There'll be 1 recovery shake, 1 recovery bar. Amex's recovery products are best in the world and really are as important post-race as your race nutrition is. We've created some bundles. It's so important to understand that we like 0 to first feed, it's on you, and we have created a race bundle that caters for that amount of nutrition per rider. All of the products will be the blue line, so that the energy line, which is 2-to-1. If you're wanting the high fructose 40-gram ratio, please order it in advance and we'll take it to the race for you. Again, we'll create a bundle and we'll have some available at the race, but it's just difficult to predict who wants what, and so we end up taking either too little or too much. So the race bundles are designed to get you from 0 to first feed. And then there's also some training bundles that you can purchase from now until the race starts. Recovery bundles, so again, recovery shake, everyone gets 1. Recovery bar, everyone gets 1. Amex are famous. You can see them after every stage in the Tour de France. Everyone's got a blue box. So they're famous for their cherry juice. Cherry juice is difficult to give to everyone, so we will have it available as a bundle to purchase. They've also got a new cherry gummy, same cherry tart extract, just a little easier to execute. If you purchase those bundles, we'll take them to the start and we'll take them to the villages for you. But it's important that you purchase them in advance so that we know that you're coming and we cater for everyone. Great product. Yeah, again, last year the feeds were a lot of fun and in abundance and well organized, and the team enjoyed it thoroughly, and we look forward to taking care of you at the race.
A question I get asked all the time is, you organize a gravel race, you must spend a lot of time on your gravel bike. And sadly, I don't think any of us do spend enough time on our gravel bikes. But with the one exception is that every year we get to go ride the trial ride for the following year's Nedbank Gravel Burn. And so that's the team of us in Cape Town, and we head out. And over the last 2 years, we've been doing it. And I've absolutely fallen in love with riding a gravel bike in the Karoo. And so we're going to cover some route tips now. But if there's only going to be one thing you're going to remember from what I'm going to say is it's an absolutely wonderful place. And Kevin touched on the theme a lot. It's a wonderful place to be riding a gravel bike from the overall experience, not just racing it, from the overall experience of everything that's on offer at the Nedbank Gravel Burn. So I'm very excited for everyone in this room and everyone on our live stream. I've been sitting there with Natalie at the back, and there's people from all around the world watching. So it's something very exciting for all of you here. That was our trial ride that we were on 2 months ago. And when you think of the Karoo, you think of generally heat and dust. And we were greeted by snow and single temperature riding conditions. So it was a very exciting day out. On the photo on the left is Impor, who I think is in the room, unless he's gone. That was his first day on a gravel bike. He came and joined us. He's from Nedbank. He came and joined us. It was about 4 degrees, horizontal rain with the wind blowing, and that was his number one day on the bike on the left. But the Karoo's got a bit of everything. So that's our team. The conditions improved a lot when we got to Shamwari. That was just past Amakhala, test riding the final stage. The Karoo is very generous. It gives a bit of everything when you're there. So from heat to cold to rain to champagne gravel with a bit of rocks on it as well. It's a very generous place to ride your bike. So quite a few of you put up your hands of riders that rode last year, but this is an important point for even the new riders that are riding this year. We've made we've made 2 fundamental changes with the route, and the first is that we've cut out the garden route, unfortunately, Knysna to Avontier to Willemore. And there's a big difference that has resulted in for the riders. It means that we're now starting in Graaff-Reinet, but it means that we are spending 2 nights in every camp, except for one camp. There's a camp called Guanishi, and we're spending 1 night there. But Blauwaarde, the first camp, 2 nights. Marino, the second camp, 2 nights. A 1-night stand in Guanishi, and then we at Shamwari for 2 nights. And that's a big fundamental change for you. It means that you can get to your tents, you can unpack your bags, you can get familiar with the camp, and there's just a lot, all of Kevin's stuff that you're showing you, that's all great advice, but to pack that up every day, we could see that was taxing on the riders last year. So that's a big change, and it really ups the rider enjoyment and allows you to enjoy the race. Here's just a very short intro video to our start town, Graaff-Reinet.
Gravel Burn's visit to Graaff-Reinet and to the Karoo is very, very special because we like to share what we have. It's almost undiscovered territory.
Siting of Graaff-Reinet was a decision of a commission that was sent out by the Dutch East India Company to find a site for the new Dross Day, and they identified this particular valley as a suitable site for the town. The reason for it was the abundance of water.
Our goal with the route is actually to showcase South Africa to South Africans and international riders. The big change from our inaugural edition is that we've moved the start location to Graaff-Reinet. I think that's going to be a game changer, really.
And I said there was 2 big changes. The second one, other than the 2 nights in each camp, the second one is that last year the race was backloaded, which means that all the hard stages came towards the end of the race, and we found that riders struggled to enjoy the event in the opening couple of stages. They struggled to let their head down and really enjoy this immersive bike experience that we're trying to create, because they're always fearful of what was coming towards the end of the race. So this year we've got a far better balance of those 7 stages. There's easy and hard stages sort of interspersed between them all, and then there's a very nice shorter, you could call it a rest stage, sort of towards the middle of the race. And that balance, along with the 2 nights, is a fundamental difference that all of you are going to have this year. So I'm going to look at each individual stage. I'm going to just give a little bit of insight into each stage. But when you give insights, I suppose it's very relative to the people that you're speaking to. And there's 2 very distinct groups of riders that are taking on the Nedbank Gravel Burn. And if you look at the race results from first, and you cut it right in half. So from first to the middle, I'm going to call that the Racing Snakes. And then from the middle to the last place rider, I'm going to call that the Adventure Riders. And it's probably quite a dangerous thing to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to ask everyone in the room, I'm sure you must have a good idea of where you fall in, either Adventure Riders or Racing Snakes. So firstly, the Adventure Riders, who on our live stream as well, you can comment and Natalie will see your comments, but who's here as an Adventure Rider? And then who's here as a Racing Snake? Couple of hands. Sure, do you know, in Cape Town we had no Adventure Riders. Everyone was a Racing Snake. They were all in Lycra. They were on their stationary trainers, warming up, having Amex. You guys are in trouble. No, it's absolutely great. So there's a nice mix of riders that you'll see throughout the race, and that's again this meeting of all these different types of riders at the race. So for the Racing Snakes on stage 1, from Graaff-Reinet to Blauwater, the last 30 kilometers is a really tricky false flat, and it's exposed. It's along a railway line. It can definitely be windy. If you're not in a bunch that Kevin's been talking about, you're going to lose a lot of places there. So it means that from the gun, from Graaff-Reinet up that first climb to Conical Peak, you're going to have to race this stage from the gun. So it's going to be a very tough stage 1. The Adventure Riders, completely the opposite. I really urge you to soft pedal up to Conical Peak. It is quite a tough first climb. When you get to the top of that climb, it is at the 40-kilometer mark. Get off your bike and turn around and take a look back. You're looking out over the Great Karoo. There's Graaff-Reinet in the distance, and it's really the start of the journey that you're going to be embarking on for the next 7 days, and it's the start of this wonderful experience. The other golden rule I'll touch on now is you'll see the putt stalls. They're marked on the map and the Amex points. Never, ever miss a putt stall. You're always eating for the stages coming up, and that is probably one of the most, another one of the most important things that you'll hear tonight. Never miss a putt stall. Stage 1 finishes at a farm called Blauwater. The farmer, Justin, is riding the race along with all of you this year. In fact, an interesting stat from the host farmers from the 2025 Nedbank Gravel Burn, 3 of them are all riding the race. Matt Zondag from Avantier, that we're unfortunately not going there this year, Justin Kingwell from Blauwater, and Carl van Niekerk from Guanishi. There's 3 host farmers riding alongside all of you, so that's really great. Here's a short clip from Blauwater and Justin.
We farm on Blauwater. I'm the 4th generation on the farm. We've been here, my grandfather established in the area probably in the early sort of 1800s. Blauwater is situated right at the foothills of the Lootsburg Pass. Of interest is that the source of the Sundays River actually starts on the property. The Sundays River runs all the way into Graaff-Reinet and then further down and ends at the coast. What makes this area unique to riding is just, you have terrain that changes constantly, so you're not riding on an open sort of flat area. Terrain changes a lot. You're also climbing a lot, so you're gaining a lot of altitude, makes it exciting. We see ourselves as more custodians of improving it and doing what we can and handing it over to the next generation in a better state than we got it. I think our tenacity and our willingness to overcome them is what keeps us here and keeps us sustaining ourselves.
So then on to stage 2, the Racing Snakes. There's probably about half a dozen significant, really punchy climbs there. It is a day of very, very varied gravel. And so this is going to be your second very hard day. There's definitely 2 sort of hard opening days for the guys trying to race for the leader jerseys. For the Adventure Riders, there's Combs Pass at about the 50-kilometer mark. Of interest, that is the highest point that you're going to reach in the full 7 days of riding. And again, these magnificent views. The stage that you're riding is an anti-clockwise loop around Kompasberg. It's that lovely V-shaped mountain you can see there. It's a famous mountain in early aviation in South Africa that pilots would use at navigating from Cape Town to Joburg as a beacon that they would aim for. And it is, and you get to see that mountain from every view possible, from a full 360 degrees. This is just a little clip that stuck in my mind when we first rode in the end of 2024, and we headed out, and there's all sort of varied gravel, and this is a downhill section from that highest point of the route down to New Bethesda, and it's a section of the race. Kevin, we were riding together, and it always stuck in my mind as one of the most enjoyable sections. I think that's Tom Pidcock, I'm sure, clocking close to 100 k's an hour down there. So on to stage 3, the big transfer stage from Blauwater to Merino, and straight up you'll notice a lot of tarmac. And the tarmac lasts until about the 80-kilometer mark, so it is significant. There is a lot of tarmac. I'm going to start firstly with the adventure riders. Use that tarmac to recover, to recuperate. It's free, easy miles. There is that hard first climb up Wahlpaatsberg. It's early in the morning. Get up that climb, stick in bunches on the way down, because you've got the event's largest climb on the stage, Swarthoek Pass. And there's nowhere around it other than just to get over it. And definitely stop, again, the golden rule, stop at all those putt-stars. That's heading down into the Fish River Valley, so just before Craddock. It's, again, just these marvelous scenery changes. For the racing snakes, unfortunately, no such luck. Again, if you lose the bunch over Wahlpaatsberg, there's about 40, 50 Ks of gravel, of tarmac on the other side. So you definitely have got another, it's your third uphill fast start of the race. And then on the flip side, if you burn too many matches, Swarthoek Pass is a monster climb at the end. So there's a lot of action to be had on stage 3. Stage 3, the race every day finishes at the windmill. That is our finish line. And the windmill is never actually in the camp, what normal races called race villages. We call it the camp. The windmill's not in the camp. And stage 3 is the longest liaison from the windmill to the camp. It's about 4 or 5 kilometers down the other side of Swarthoek Pass. But it's nice. You finish the race, you've had your time taken, you get to then enjoy the descent. Stage 4, you'll see straight away, shortest stage, and for the racing snakes, it is just absolutely flat out. We rode this, that was the stage I was talking about when it was the snow and the rain and the gravel was like clay. It was still a very, very fast stage for us. So it is going to go by in a blink for the racing snakes. This is definitely going to be the stage with the highest average speed. There's the Red Bull kilometer that Kevin was talking about earlier. And for the adventure riders, again, I would implore you to take this opportunity. It's now midway through the race. Take it slightly easy. Get back to camp and really enjoy that camp life. There's the tent over there that you're all going to be sleeping in, and all of those tents on a circle around a bonfire. Sit around the bonfire, have some marshmallows, have some beers. Our caterers are doing a braai that day. Really get to enjoy this on-off bike experience. On stage 4, when we first approached the farmer, Willie Jordan, and we said, Willie, have you heard of the Cape Epic? No, he's never heard of the Cape Epic. Well, he thinks he's heard of it, but he hasn't really heard of it. He said, Willie, we're going to get riders from all around the world. They're going to come and ride down your road, and is it okay if we camp on your farm? And he said, there's no chance. You're never going to get riders from Scandinavia and all over the world to come and ride here. Not many South Africans have ever been down this road. And here we are going back to Billy's farm, and we took him in a helicopter flip last year over his farm and over the race village, which he absolutely loved. But the point is, again, you are going through places that not many South Africans, or just, I mean, can I have a show of hands for the riders that didn't ride last year, but who has ever been on the road in between Craddock and Somerset East? The dirt gravel road. I'll be very surprised if anyone's ever gone over Swanswick Pass and traveled that dirt road. So it's this wonderful experience of visiting places you've never experienced before. Stage number 5, the racing snakes. You know what a profile like that means. I suppose with no big significant clouds, means you're on the pedals the whole day. There are some real stings in the tail that climb at the 110 kilometer mark is larger than it seems on that profile. This is another big transfer stage, and it's going from the sheep farming region, very dry, arid sheep farming region of Merino, to again down the Fish River. You're going to pass the Fish River a few times to Guanishi, which is next to a little town called Middleton, which no one really heard of, which is next to probably Bedford, which is the largest town in the area. And this is a lush green dairy farming belt that we're getting into over here. Kevin showed that photo earlier. We are putting measures in place, so there's going to be foot and mouth sprays as you enter each farm to mitigate the risks. Cole, the owner of that dairy farm, is also riding the race. This is just a bit of an interesting point. There was a stage that I'm sure all of you maybe heard about last year, quite a controversial stage where the feedback from the riders was they liked the varied gravel of the whole race. There was one particular stage or one particular climb and section, 30-40 kilometer section on that stage that they said just that was too rough, and we've listened, we've heard it, we've changed the route of how you're getting from Merino to Guanishi. So the route is rough, but again, we do take rider safety very carefully, and there are sections that we have changed. Stage number 6, from Guanishi to Shamwari. So Guanishi was the only camp that you're there for one night. And this is now getting towards the business end of the race. For the racing snakes, between the 30 to 50 kilometer point, the gravel is just wonderful there. It's smooth. You're going through these little puts. And again, I remember from the trial ride, it's just this absolutely exhilarating feeling of riding in a bunch, and just the miles flew by on that wonderful gravel. Some tough climbs then from Alisdale, sort of just as you're getting about 2/3 of the way through the profile, you'll see a tiny bit of tar at Alisdale. From there to the end, that is then in Shamwari. So that's in Big 5 Game Reserve. So for the riders listening mostly on the live stream, but even for the South Africans here, that's an opportunity that not many people get to do. On the one hand, be riding this big international race, and on the other side, riding on your gravel bike through a Big 5 Game Reserve. It's absolutely wonderful experience. So for the adventure riders, definitely save something in the tank for that game ride. Stage 7, you started your journey in the really dry, arid Karoo at Craft, and midway through the stage, where there's that little V-shaped dip at about the 50 kilometer mark, that is next to the Woody Cape Reserve, and you're now seeing the Indian Ocean, and it's a wonderful experience. So starting in the desert and now reaching the ocean. For the racing snakes, that whole middle section of the race is again very far. Just wonderful experiences from the trial ride of riding that middle section, the very fast middle section, and some tough climbs to top and tail the day. For the adventure riders, again, Big 5 at the start, Big 5 at the end, and you've now got a second Big 5 reserve at Amakala, which you're heading through at the start of the stage. This is not a route point, but I just wanted to touch on it for those of you that are new to the race. We've taken what you'd call military-style rows of tents, so where there's one big tented area, and then there's one big dining marquee, and there's one big area of ablutions, and we've sort of decentralized the whole thing to create this more intimate riding experience. So each one of those circles that you're seeing is called a LARPer, and in there are about 30 of those tents that you can take a look at. And please go inside the tent and take a look at the wonderful disco bed and the mattress that you'll be sleeping on. It's a very nice setup for a race. So each one of the circles is a LARPer. Each LARPer has a fire in the center of the LARPer and a camp master. So a local East London trained staff crew member, Eastern Cape trained crew member, who is going to help you with your daily logistics. So every day they carry your bag from your tent to the truck. So all you have to do is arrive at your LARPer and your bag will be at your tent. And then when you leave that race village, that camp, you just leave your bag back at on the porch of your tent. They also light a fire, that center fire in your LARPer every morning, and every evening they light that fire. There is a wonderful, very comfortable, after riding, very comfortable camp chair. Again, Kevin said it, take that camp chair from the tent for the 15 meters to the bonfire and enjoy that fire. When we rode the trial ride, it was what we got most excited about, was this off-bike experience as well. We've also decentralized we call them the LARPer lounges. So there are 2 Bedouin tents that you'll see in the middle of the photo. So the riders are split. The LARPers sort of on the left, they all eat. There's a couple of hundred people, they eat in that one LARPer lounge. The riders on the other side, they eat in that LARPer lounge. And I suppose you get to know the people that you are traveling this journey with. You stay in the same LARPer for the entire race. Every single camp, if you are in LARPer Karoo E, you will be in Karoo E, and your tent's number 15, you're Karoo E 15 every single day with the same camp master that you get to know throughout the whole race. And then there's going to be toilets and showers interspersed amongst the tents. That is an image of the LARPer lounge. That's where you eat both breakfast and dinner. And there's a similar tent that looks very similar to that called the Lunchbomer, and that is alongside the finish line. The man that came up with the route, Steve Thomas, that's a lovely quote from him that I think sums up the experience you're going to have wonderfully. And it speaks to the diverse landscapes and the history of the area. So in closing, I am wonderfully excited for all of you and all of you listening on the live stream. I think it's going to be a great overall experience. And here is just a final video.
The Karoo is really one of the geological and paleontological superlatives of the world. The oldest rocks in the Karoo are 300 million years old, and the youngest rocks 120 million years old. But while you're riding through on your bicycle, you'll see these different rock layers in front of you. In a distance of 60 kilometers, you've traveled through a period of 7 million years, a period documenting the change in life over a period of 7 million years.
Okay, we are going to head into Q&A, and there's both Q&A coming from the live stream and the room. So, Kevin.
Thank you, Richard. Richard actually worked with me from the very second Cape Epic, 22 years ago. So it's brilliant to have a chance to build something again with Richard. Thanks also to Scott and to David for the very good information on bike setup and nutrition. I've got some questions from the live stream, but first to the floor. Any questions on the race or what we've spoken about tonight? No questions. Okay. I'm going to go for a question from the live stream then. One of the questions is, are all the snacks the same as the put stalls as last year? I'm presuming that that question is asked because there was Whole Foods, and the answer is yes. But it's there'll be obviously all sorts of Amex, There's water, there's Coke, and all sorts of whole foods, so sandwiches, potatoes, etc. Any other questions?
Connectivity, and will we have Wi-Fi at the camps?
The question was, will there be connectivity and is there Wi-Fi? The answer is yes, more than last year. So I'll give you a bit of history there. The reality is that in these areas, there's not much happening, right? When we went to the farmers in these areas, there's no cell phone reception, let alone fast internet connections. And we thought, wow, it's a great chance to have a tech detox. So we worked with phenomenal partners. I mean, NTT is a sponsor, HeroTel was a sponsor, and Fortinet gave us the equipment. A great effort. They put in connectivity, but we limited it to only the LARPA lounges because we actually thought it'd be quite cool that no one's on their phone the whole week. And we created very limited areas in the burn camps. And obviously in the media centers, we had high-speed connections that NTT put in for us. But the downside of that is obviously it's a safety risk because you have to actually communicate with people. So now we've changed. We actually are putting Wi-Fi over the whole burn camp, at least NTT and HeroTel are putting Wi-Fi over the whole burn camp, and there's connectivity everywhere. So if you want to be on your phone, you can be on your phone all the time. But the idea is to have a detox and put your phones away for the week. Next question. I got a ping, so it might mean that I've got another question, yeah? You've mentioned that front suspension might be a good idea in the past. With route changes this year and the elimination of the rough road on stage 5, are you still recommending suspension? Okay, so the reality is, yes, we've eliminated the super technical section, which was in fact neutralized last year. And it's a personal preference thing. I mean, for me, I choose a crux over a diverge because I prefer the geometry of a fully rigid bike. I like that I have a road bike to ride off-road, and I'd rather go for super fat tires. Some people want to add to that to have front suspension. It's a personal choice. The reality is that just because we've cut out what was stage 5 last year, doesn't mean that now suddenly it's all less technical whole route than last year. There have been floods, as you know, in the first part of this year. There have been floods. Some roads have been washed away. In fact, in Shamwari, there's a river running over the trail as we speak, and we're waiting for the river to subside before Shamwari rebuilds some of the roads, for us specifically. So the reality is, I would say, it's a personal preference between very fat tires and front suspension. But yeah, go for a bike with suspension, whether it's in the tires or on front suspension. Does that answer your question? It's a bit vague, but the reality is that don't think because we cut out that technical stage from last year, it's going to be suddenly very smooth. Okay, someone mentioned that the tent is also a power bank. Okay, so in the tents, we've mentioned there's obviously a disco bed. You can see it inside there. There's a mattress with it. You'd have to obviously bring your own sleeping bag. There's also a table and there's a lamp, and the lamp inside is a power bank as well. So you'll be able to charge. I think there's 2 USB-C ports. You've obviously got to bring your own cable, but then you'll be able to charge your phone, your Garmin overnight with the power that's in the lamp as well. Okay. Any other questions? Sorry, let's go first. Yeah, great.
Yeah, sorry, Kevin. Last year we had some situations. Number one, that bags arrived late, so I guess it can only happen half the amount of time this year. Have you sorted out those logistics? And then sometimes, I guess it's difficult with timing the ablution blocks. Are they larger, more, seeing that we have half the amount of places to accommodate?
The answer is yes. And an interesting thing with having less towns, we're actually not moving. So those toilets and showers that we designed, so those were actually built for us, the ChemChamp toilets and showers. They are, because the idea for us, we didn't want to have like a footprint. So we wanted to have like more comfortable toilets and showers, not like portaloos. So they actually plumbed into the ground. And then after the event, we take away everything above ground. And then for the next event, we bring the above ground stuff. And last year, we had to move that mid-race because we had 6 different venues. So this year, we're actually not moving any of the ChemChamp toilets and showers. We're putting them up in 2 weeks before and they're staying up because we've got less sites. So with the same amount of capital equipment, we're not moving. And we also, so for 2 of the venues, we're using the traditional rented luxury toilets and showers. Yeah. So I'd like to think that, for me personally, it was the biggest disappointment, if I have to be honest, last year's race. And so that I'd like to think is absolutely solved for this year. Okay.
Yeah, just a logistical question at the finish at Shamwari. Is it going to be possible for somebody to pick you up at the finish in a private vehicle? Is there access that you can be fetched at the finish? I mean, the start is easy, you can get dropped off, but after 7 days you want to get home as well and make sure that you can be fetched. Is that a possibility?
Yes, it is. So normally in Shamwari they don't take day visitors, but for the race they are taking day visitors, so you can, and also the public can come in to watch the finish. So you can, and also because it starts at Shamwari, they can come in early, watch the start, watch the finish. If you want, you can go home on Saturday afternoon, but I would encourage you to stay for the party. The accommodation, not in the Shamwari Lodge, you can buy that accommodation if you want, but the burn camp is set up on the Saturday night as well. So obviously there on the Friday night, but then it's there on the Saturday night as well. So that accommodation on the final night in the burn camp is included in the package, and we'd like to think we put up a hell of a party on that Saturday night. So I encourage you, stay for the final night party, and then head off on Sunday morning. And yeah, I think, Natalie, we will communicate about that, because obviously if your life partner wants to, or anyone in fact wants to come and watch that final day and then enjoy the party, they can stay longer at the party as well. There's a package that we would basically, because it's a party, we would sell that access for the party on the final night, include dinner and being part of the final burn celebration. See if there's another question. Okay, is there a charging station for electronics in the burn camp? Well, in your tent, you can charge devices with USB cables, so like phones and your bike computers. But what's new for this year, last year we had a media center where journalists had access and they could plug in their laptops and basically work in the media center. But what's cool for this year is we're creating like a WeWork zone. So WeWork's one of our first sponsors of the race, in fact. And in Cape Town, we work out of the WeWork offices. When we're in Joburg, we work in the Joburg WeWork offices. But we're creating a WeWork area, okay? That's like a sponsored WeWork area in so where you had dinner and breakfast last year, during the day it's like they're unoccupied because they're not being used because you are having lunch in the finish line, Boma. We're actually putting up cables, and there's basically a WeWork area in those 2 LARPA lounges where if you want to take your laptop and do some work and plug it in, you can do that as well. Okay, so in both of the LARPA lounges. Thanks, Steph. Cool. Secret tips. I think there was one more that came through. Okay, for the slow riders, what are the cutoff times? So the cutoff times will be put onto our website before the race, But I think what you really want to know here is that they are generous. Okay. Last year, not a single rider was cut off because they didn't make a cut-off time. Okay. We want everyone to finish. Like I said, it's like the off-bike, on-bike experience. And the reality is that, it's the medal is about getting to the finish line and going through the 7-day experience. It's not about racing against the clock. It's just the reality is that the finish times of the winners are less at the Nedbank Gravel Burn than they are at the Cape Epic, and typically the rider coming last. And after 20 years of experience, I can say that typically the rider coming last in the field is about double the time. And our cut-off times, because of the daylight, because of the bunch riding, it's even more generous. It's more than double the time, our cut-off times. Okay, so the answer is, yes, there are cut-off times, but they're very generous. You need to worry about fatigue and technical issues before you need to worry about making the cut-off. No more questions coming through online. Go for it.
Kevin, you mentioned the lunch tent is at the finish line, but at some points when you finish, you've got like a couple kilometers to get back to the village. What happens? I mean, can you go back to the village? You can shower there, but how do you then get back to the? I mean, are you then required to walk or ride back?
Okay, so let me explain this, the whole setups. Okay, so the rationale for what you just described, that the windmill, okay, is our finish line. That iconic orange windmill you can typically see from a distance is our finish line. Some days it's 500 meters from the burn camp. At Swaziland Pass, it's like 4 kilometers where you freewheel down into the marina burn camp. And other days, it might be a kilometer, okay, of riding. The reason for this, besides the hilltop, besides the summit finish, is that we don't want to have downhill finishes. And the burn camps are typically located in a protected area on the farm. And if we finished right in the burn camp, there'd be a downhill sprint on a gravel road, which is not a great idea. Okay, so we typically put the windmills on a slight ascent or an open space where it's appropriate for a finish line. Okay, finish line sprint potentially. But that means you then have to get from there to your burn camp. And we're actually putting in, because I know from Cape Town experience, like all the pro managers are waiting on the finish line, we're not going to have that at the gravel burn, okay? So we're going to put a live feed into the finish line boma, or let's say the lunch boma. So everyone's like watching the finish line from the lunch boma. So you finish the race, you don't stop. You keep on going. You get your recovery that Dave's talking about is actually in the burn camp. So you might have to do 500 meters, you might have to do a kilometer, you might have to do 4Ks, okay, to carry on riding after you cross the windmill. And that's when you get into there's actually calling it arrivals lounge. You get in there, the mechanics are on one side, there's lunch on the other side, there's a place to wash, there's ablutions, etc. right there. And then you're in the burn camp. You don't have to go back to the windmill again at all. Then you're in the burn camp. And your bike gets taken, you can walk to your Lapa, it's all close proximity. The next morning, get your bike there, obviously from the tech zone, and then if the start is 500 meters away, obviously you're right to start. Does that answer your question? Cool. And that was the rationale for why the windmills are not in the burn camp. And another cool thing about the setup for this year is that because we've got multiple tech service providers, we're actually creating we're calling it the paddocks. So kind of like pit lane paddocks where all the tech service providers are literally on the one side, and the other side is the lunchtime boma that you remember from last year. So the idea is that there's this concentration of action in the burn camp. You cruise in, everyone will see riders as they come in. So if your friend is an hour or half an hour behind you, you'll actually see them coming in, and you can go and greet them on the pseudo finish line in the burn camp. More questions? Okay. Let's see, I think that's... Okay, so no more questions online, except for me to say that for all the Nedbank riders, you need to go and try on your cycling kit, okay, for size, and then just so you can make sure that Nedbank's got your correct size. Okay, last questions. Gone. There's more food, I believe. So hang around, we're all here, Scott, Dave, myself, Richard. Any other questions? Natalie's there. If you've got questions, please ask us. And then once again, Rema, thank you very much for supporting us from Nedbank's perspective. And look forward to seeing you guys at the race. Is everyone excited? It's going to be awesome. We can't wait as well. And thanks again for joining us tonight. Thank you.